Crossroads. I always remember how our walking you home started. It was on the evening after a final term exam we gave together, and I did not want to let you go home alone, as you always do. Surprisingly, you let me. Unlike the other days when I'd keep on pestering you two. It had opened up the pathway to a regular happening in our lives, where I'd take you home every day or even accompany you from your home. Even though it has been many months since we last got to walk together again, but just for the sake of today, I wanted to experience it again, to walk on that path again. The last few times, it used to start from the plinth of the Fine Arts Building, where you and I would sit for hours and talk under the eerie evening light or the golden afternoon. Then you would get up, say your mother is going to kill you if you delay any longer, and from the path behind the building, our journey would start. The sodium golden lights on the road would always light up as soon as we would start, as if a cluster of fireflies to lead us through our regular path into the night. On our way, there would be so many crosswalks to go through, even a busy crossroad just before your house. You never could cross roads properly, and it would always be my responsibility to lead you safely to the other side. Sometimes you would hold my hand or my shirt's cuff while crossing if you felt too afraid or overwhelmed by the traffic. I would always pull you through no matter what. Then, we would go on walking, and our shadows would get closer than our bodies. Maybe I will try to slide my hand into yours as well, wouldn't I? It is raining right now, and I do not have an umbrella. The raindrops fall on my head and slide through my scalp, mixing with sweat on my forehead, but I don't mind as I walk. Even if I had an umbrella, I would always give it to you, because it is embarrassing to walk under the same umbrella. Even after 2 years of being together, it was always so awkward and embarrassing. But right now, my scarred feet hurt like hell. No, I still want to walk with you. So I do, and so I will. Why not? After all, I walked with you for almost 7 kilometers, didn't I? When did feet ache ever matter? You would vent at me for walking with my shoes rubbing the ground. But right now, I do not really know where you are. You might be on a car going to or from home, or you might be somewhere else, to find somebody else. Oh, hey, that girl looks like you. Hey, it could be you. Oh, no, it isn't. Would you call me if you saw me? Would you even recognize me after so many months? Please tell me your memories of me have not faded yet. Oh well, it does not matter. I will just pretend that you are walking beside me. That is better, isn't it? Getting drenched with me, passing that familiar burger stand, right after that tall building that we always make fun of. You're so quiet, so maybe I'll just sing La Vie en Rose to you. It will help, won't it? Remember, I did sing that on the night when I first realized whatever I did or tried to do was not really enough, didn't I? Even though we were both broken, I had to let you know somehow that it will be all right, didn't I? Oh no, it's already the dark intersection. I stopped my pace. I don't want you to go right now. Why not just a few more minutes? What will happen if you go home just a bit late? You're going to be gone forever, so just take the time before you do. If I could be reborn and reborn, I would live this moment again and again and walk on. But I can't, can I? So? But no, you insist, you have to go. You convince me you have to leave, and it's already been too late. It is already far beyond what you could stay for. But I do not want to let go of your hands. I do not want to leave you out of my sight. But well, finally, I have to accept it. We start walking again, slower than before, and I can make best use of the time by trying to embarrass you as much as I can, saying cliché, cringe romantic things, or trying to read your mind to guess what you're thinking right now. You don't say anything, again, and I realize I cannot really seem to read you anymore. Before I can say anything again, the crossroads come like a car running the red. When we cross the crosswalk, you go straight forward, where your house is, and I go left, onto my bus stop. But there are so many cars and buses and trucks on the busy crosswalk today, much more than any other time, and crossing it is so difficult. I can't get over to the other side so easily, so I try to hold on to your hand. I look at you to tell you that I love you for the last time, because I won't be able to say it again when you go home. But where are you? I search for you here and there, but you've already crossed the road. Thinking back my past 20 years, I just want to write them down. My name is Claire, from C. I would like to be clear, but English is not my mother tongue. I'm 20 years old. February 14th is my birthday. I was born in a little city. It's sort of next to the country's north boundary. I have an older sister and a little sister. Yes, my family only has one male, who is my father. I'll start from as much earlier as I can remember, as possible. Most things only have some pieces left in my mind. As time goes on, it will have more detail. The earliest thing I can remember is when I was 4 years old. My parents both were people who sold wholesale vegetables. As my thought, they were really busy at the time. Every day they woke up very early and brought me to the stall. Small, crowded place. They worked very hard. They were young and energetic. In other words, they were consuming themselves. One thing I remember is that I was hanging out with my friend, passed by a supermarket, and we walked in and grabbed a pack of milk and just drank it. I was too small to know I have to pay. Staff there wouldn't let us go till our parents found us in a hurry after 2 hours, perhaps. This is fresh in my mind because they were so angry and worried about us, while I have absolutely no idea what happened. We were poor, like really very poor. Can't even afford extra clothes or a good meal. By the way, when I was 4, my older sister is a blur in my mind, and my little sister wasn't even born yet. So when I was old enough, I started to go against her. I wasn't doing what she asked, no matter what, so it was kind of extreme. Whenever I didn't want to do what she asked of me, she always made me feel guilty. So I just ignored. I said my family, just normal, and my parents are working very hard, so I'll do some tiny things to let them feel at least relax. 'Cause we can do nothing about their work. For example, when I didn't want to mop the floor, she would say, "They're so tired from working outside. They come back and they see their house so dirty." And I'll feel like it's my fault. I don't talk to my big sister much for a long time. She always has a way to get me pissed off. Maybe I'm too judgmental towards her, but sometimes what she said is really annoying. And I don't like arguing, so I won't talk to her unless I have to. But she's a talker. Her words are plentiful sometimes. I do feel lonely, and I want to go to crowded places, 'cause I want to meet new people and new stuff. An understanding or comfort of what I'm looking for. I'm not a good talker. Don't have any move, just as things go on. I'm eager to be understood, and have someone who can really be with me when I get upset, but I can't find that. I can't be with or close with the same person for too long. At the start, I would have tried my best for that person, but I can't be straightforward with my thoughts. On the contrary, I always want people to care about me, my tiny world, or implied meaning. You can guess. That's basically impossible. So I wouldn't try to explain or discuss anything, but my self-defense starts to build. I like new things, 'cause new people means new me, new experience. I don't like to talk about myself or even don't like to argue or anything. So even sometimes I meet something unfair, I would self-digest, but it's just getting bigger now. I can't digest it myself. There will have to be something I can figure out. So at the moment, maybe I'll leave it. But next time when something happens, I have to self-digest, the past wouldn't come through again. I have strong self-defense. Like if one day I feel you're not really wanting to understand me, I wouldn't ask anything. But the wall between us is building. I would fade. I remember I had a really good friend when I was in primary school. Like we talked about everything and we were always together. But I don't know, I just got tired in the end and tried to keep pushing her away, get her away. She didn't do anything wrong, I just felt suffocated. But people come and go, right? I'm a totally contradicting person. I can't stand people so close to me, but can't even understand me. I was longing to go somewhere very far on my own, like what I said before, meet new people, new experience. So I started to collect relative information about it. But I can't just travel. So I found a volunteer thing. You can get a certificate, which can be very helpful for a job in the future. It also has to be inexpensive. So I chose India. I stayed there for 6 weeks. They covered accommodation and food. All I needed to pay was project fee and a plane ticket. About the project I chose, I didn't think too much. They all have a very similar introduction, so I chose randomly. It's about teaching kids English. To be honest, I prefer to be with kids or pets than older adults. So I made an interview, and I went there. In my case, that would be totally a lone space. Probably add a dog, and in a beautiful countryside that would inspire me. You may notice that surroundings will influence me a lot. But every time when I want to face them, I would get so nervous. Sometime I was thinking maybe I'm a control freak. 'Cause if things out of expectation, I would be like, don't know what to do. I don't even know if I'm really in love with traveling and meeting new things. Maybe that's just an excuse to escape. I'm always chasing something. Currently, I'm not. And put my expectations on that, but the truth is, even though I get eventually sick of things, it won't change too much. I don't know what is wrong with me. You know, I always feel better in places not so familiar to me. That's why I only send letters to foreigners and only join foreign communities. Different languages and culture will minimize my sensitivity, and I would rather travel alone. I may never travel with others. Even travel, I prefer to go to other countries far from mine. The really strange loss prevention guy. I'm bored. Thought I'd tell my story about a creep I had to work with when I was a teenager. I won't give a name to the store, but I'm sure you will figure that out easy. It's a lower-end Walmart that usually hosts a lower-end pizza chain inside. Well, I worked in the pizza part at 18 years old. It was probably my 3rd week at the job when the loss prevention guy Chad comes over and orders a pizza. I'm ringing him up when he stares at me for a while and he says, "Are you the new girl?" I smile and nod. He tells me I should follow him to his office. I kind of look back at my manager confused and my manager tells me it's okay, he will cover my spot. So I followed Chad to the back of the store. On the way there, he is pointing out all cameras in the store, like on the ceiling, and explaining to me how those are just the ones you see. There are the ones in places you would never expect you are being watched. I just nod and say, yeah, cool, wow, because I could have cared less and thought there was not too much purpose for me to go in this little tour or know these things. We make it back to his office, and it's tiny, just a wall half filled, with monitors and a couple computers, a large desk, and his chair. He closed the door, skirted past me, and sat on his chair. and I stood by the door because there was nowhere else to go. He starts talking about his job and what he is supposed to do there, and how that included even watching the pizza employees, because the employees are known for stealing slices of pizza without paying. He tells me a story about how just a few weeks before I was hired, they fired 3 guys at the same time on the spot because the day before they ate the extra breadsticks on their lunch and didn't pay for it. He gets really stern for a second and asks me seriously, "Have you ever stolen anything before?" I start to get really serious, back in a particularly snarky and sarcastic way. "Oh, no, never, Chad. I have never and I will never steal anything." I was actually a career criminal at this point in my life. The only reason why I was working that job is because I moved across the country for a fresh start, because a few years before I was a druggie and funded my habits through a great deal of theft. Eventually, I was slapped with an assault with a deadly weapon, but I got those charges cleared, and everything eventually went off my record. I knew there was no way he would know any of this. My record was squeaky clean at this point. He just laughs and says, "Yeah, right, I don't believe that." I just played along. "I'm a really good person. I would never ever do something like that. It's yucky." He just stares at me and says, "I think you're hiding something." I'm like, "Okay," and stay quiet. He says, "You moved here to this small town from a big city. And when I asked around about you, turns out you moved here without any family either. For a young girl like you, that's really suspicious. I think you're running from something." I just shrug and say I'm independent. However, starting to get really annoyed that I'm being grilled for no reason by a rent-a-cop. He says he wants to show me some things. He turns around and starts explaining some of the tech behind the security cameras, showing me some real-time video of the store. He points out these 2 girls walking around, and he goes on to explain on how he can zoom in and be able to read what is on their phones. And he then chuckles and says, "Say hi to your boyfriend from me," which I can only imagine meant he was reading my phone screen when I was on my break. He starts to say how he has been watching me from the security camera, as he does with all new employees, and says I have strange habits. I just stay quiet. He pulls up past footage, like remembers the date off the top of his head, and it's me walking into the bathroom. I'm like pretty creeped out at this point, but I stay quiet. He says, "This is the only time I have seen you go to the bathroom since you have worked here. And you work late and overtime. Don't you have to go more often?" I just say, "Bladder of steel." He goes, "Uh-huh," like he doesn't believe me. He then pulls up footage of me talking to some guy on my break, and I say snarky, "Oh, look, there's my boyfriend you want me to say hi to." He then pulls up some things on his computer, and he explains how all the employees are given a number that they can use in the store at checkout for an employee discount. I already knew this because I was given my number and have just been using it frequently. He explains to me how he can even track employees' purchases, the date and exact time. He puts in my employee number, which was written down on a post-it note, next to him, and pulls up my purchase history in front of me. He says, "I have learned you have quite the sweet tooth." Then he says, "Let's look at your last purchase, made at midnight, just the other day." He says, "Oh, look at this. Tampons and pads, and you are still hardly using the bathroom." I was major creeps out and said I had to get back to work, and I just left and hurried back to my station. It left a really bad feeling in my stomach, and I stopped using my phone on break or buying anything from the store. He didn't come around for his lunch break for a while, until a few weeks later, when he decides that he wants to come back behind the restaurant and help us kids out, because he said he worked in some fancy restaurant way back when, and he wants to teach us a thing or two. I found it really annoying for him to be in my way and feeling he needed to teach me how to do everything. He always has to be working right next to me and correcting everything I did, but our manager didn't care, so I couldn't do anything about it. He was always asking me really personal questions about my life, trying to know more about my past, how he couldn't find me on social media, and even went as far as to ask me once if I was having sex with my boyfriend. He would even walk over to the restaurant after my lunch break to remind me to remember to pay for my pizza slice before I go home, only to walk back to his office. He has even called to remind me on the store phone. I finally had enough when one day my boyfriend got let off work early, and he decided to stop by my work and grab a large pizza for us to have for dinner, and give me a ride since I was getting off of work soon as well. Well, Chad so happened to be helping in the restaurant that day and saw me wave hi to my boyfriend and tell him I'm getting off work in about 20 minutes while a coworker rang him up. I went to the back and started finishing up some dishes when Chad comes back there and confronts me. He says, "So that's your boyfriend, huh?" I'm like, "Yep," and try to ignore him. He says, "Well, I don't really like him coming into my store. I don't like the way he looks, and I don't trust him, so you can't bring him around anymore." He started asking for my boyfriend's first and last name and date of birth and all that. I just said, "I don't think you have that kind of power." He walked away. I went home, and while my boyfriend and I were eating dinner, I get a call from the store manager saying Chad did an investigation on the people I bring into the restaurant as guests, and that one of them has piercings and tattoos and long hair, my boyfriend, and even a DUI. His father did, but not my boyfriend. And the store manager told me until my boyfriend gets a haircut and dresses more nicely, he can't come into the store anymore. I was shocked. So shocked, I just said, "Okay." I hung up and thought about it more. This was a big box stores. Hundreds and hundreds of customers in and out every day. And they banned my boyfriend because he looks too punk. I walked into the store manager's office the next day and quit. And I flipped off one of the security cameras on my way out because I knew Chad was watching me. I couldn't take another second of that creep. Most definitely one of the strangest experiences I have ever had anywhere, at a job or with anyone, really.